Hey everyone, this is Rachel Mooney.
This is Cindy.
This is Maggie.
And this is Andrea, and you're listening to Real Her Talk, houses, heels, and real estate deals.
All right, well, let's jump in.
All righty.
Yes. So here's what I was going to start it with. And it's funny because the irony is we always we talk about our content beforehand. And then I'm listening to this podcast this morning that I'm very partial to, and it's attorneys. We had this conversation. I would love to grow up and have been a litigator. It would have been
Life
my jam.
is not over yet. You can still do it if you want to.
Do not have a college degree, not going back to school for 7 years for anything.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And carry all that debt when you get out.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
figure that out.
absolutely not. And when I went back for my broker's license at 22, I even said then, I was like, and I'm all done.
Mm-hmm.
I have earned my last thing.
Yep.
I'm out. So, but I was listening to these attorneys, and it's funny because they're prosecutors, and they were talking about news and how it has impacted real life cases and real life prosecutions, and just how that shows up. And I'm like, holy cow, this is what we talked about yesterday with us. And it's funny because it's not a industry specific thing. And what I wrote down from even listening this morning, it was just so good because news content, if we go back to how news used to be distributed or how reliable information used to be distributed, it was always through reputable news agencies, right? And they had to vet it. They had to have multiple sources. It had to be correct. Then it got written. Then it got to print. Then it got delivered. Then as we move forward, it got on the internet. But up until the last couple of years, that was still predominantly how we were getting news. Mm-hmm. Now you had social media, of course, that have been very influential, but still opinion. People weren't looking at social media as reliable. Where am I going to go to get reliable content? And that has shifted. And what's interesting is how has that shown up in every single industry. For us, it's obviously different than, prosecutors, defense attorneys, that kind of stuff. But they were like, you have now not just the change from CNN changed it. 24-hour news cycle now, as opposed to your local evening news, right? And that was Walter Cronkite. And it went to O.J. Simpson. That was the first really publicized trial. I mean, just everybody remember with the white where they were. I remember watching that, and I was young. But that changed how we consume information and the expectation of the speed at which we get it. Then it's now even gone farther than that traditional media outlets are having to keep up with podcasters, YouTube, Reddit. And if you want to know, I mean, I don't know about you guys, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this out loud, but I found out that Trump got shot on TikTok. Almost immediately it came up, and I thought it was a joke. And so I went and I did flip to a quote unquote news to verify, because you don't know.
Yeah. Oh, we did too. We were on the golf course, and JoJo, my son, is the one who told us because he had gone to his phone to scan, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, Trump got shot!" And we're like, "What?" And immediately we went to, I think we went to Instagram and TikTok. Mm-hmm. Now that I think about it,
because it's faster.
Yeah.
No, but it's faster.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, we did. Yeah. It's real time.
It's real time. Mm-hmm. Because the people that were in that crowd were posting on social media faster than a reporter who's also sitting there reporting can
because
write
they
it.
have to be vetted. I mean, they cannot just blurt it out.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now, okay, so let's think about this in our world, in the business world and everything. So my coach has beaten the crap out of me, and you can go and use this on your coaching clients, and you can now also beat up everybody else with this, is that before I take notes, when somebody is presenting, or if I'm listening to a business podcast, or I'm listening to all kinds of stuff, he's like, hit pause, or even if it's something live and you can't talk quickly, he's like, verify their stats. do not take notes from unproven models and systems, because theory is great, execution is different. So how does that show up in business and then like as a consumer? Well, we just talked about this in our business meeting, is that, okay, the news comes out with real estate trends. They come out with interest rate trends. What's going to happen? Predictions. Oh my gosh. And if you go on the news articles, even like the quote unquote reliable sources, it's either high highs or low lows, because that's what gets people to click, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, just so we've all got perspective, the news outlets, whatever, have to fund their entire business through those avenues. Absolutely. They have to rely on clicks. I mean, sure, we're doing a podcast. Has anybody at this table gotten $1 from anything we've done? No. We're super passionate about education, conversations, people getting insight into what we do, but we don't do a podcast for money. Right. We get up and go to work and run businesses for money.
Yeah.
So when a news person or somebody who is a professional YouTuber or podcaster, whatever, that is their income stream, they rely on those clicks and those listens and those downloads, or else if they're not extreme, you don't capture the audience. You don't capture the audience, you don't have an income.
That's right.
So how in the world do you verify what you're reading? And I wanted to just start with this. I have 2 pages. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see it. I've got the stats. If you're on listening only, you couldn't read the numbers anyway, so it's fine. I just want to put in perspective. So right now, all the news articles out there is that real estate is stagnant. It's barely moving. The national news gives all these national averages where can everybody slow down? If we're in rural North Dakota, I feel like the market there might be slightly different than Manhattan. Mm-hmm. But if we're looking at national averages, it doesn't really take that into consideration, right? Now, we're in Atlanta, and I know everybody at this table obsessively watches the market. And when I say obsessively, might be a slight problem. But here's what is wild. One road, 400. We call do we call it interstate, a highway? Mm-hmm. What do y'all
interstate.
Call it? You call it interstate?
Yeah. Highway is 20, like Highway 20.
Yeah.
So interstate.
Interstate's like 129, like those that are, right?
No, 85, 75, 400.
Are interstates.
285. Those are all interstates.
Okay.
They go between states and they go
as fast as possible.
Yeah, in certain directions.
Yeah. And then highways are like
state roads. Yeah.
Okay. Thank goodness we have Rachel.
Yeah, because I wouldn't know.
I was like, I call them all highways, and I know that's not right, but I was like, we're going to roll with it. But Rachel's here, so we're good. Now we know.
They're roads.
Yeah.
They are roads.
They're all roads.
Yeah. That cars travel on.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all roads.
So one road,
Mm-hmm.
but Interstate 400 is the main highway, interstate. Mm-hmm. And then you have I-85, Interstate 85, which are the 2 main thoroughfares north of Atlanta, right?
Right.
And we're talking outside the perimeter. If you're from Atlanta, there's OTP, ITP, inside the perimeter, outside. Neither of us really know what's going on in the other world. It's always a little different. So, but if you look,
465.
Yes, yeah. We're all like, so if you look at on one side of 400, literally west side versus east side, we're going to cross one street. Are you guys ready for this? I was actually shocked by this. Year over year increase in price. Okay. So we're talking 300, 3004, 3009, 340. So if you're from Atlanta, those zip codes. If you're not, it's fine. It's not that exciting. This year over year increase in the zip codes, 2.3%, 0.8%, 1.9%. Now let's cross 400, shall we?
And what area was this in again?
This is 3004.
Okay.
3009, 3040.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Side. Yep.
So that's your average increase.
Yep.
Now let's cross 400. What is it this year when we literally cross one street? This is 3005, 324, and 341. So kind of those mirrored zip codes right on the other side. 18.8% year over year increase in sales price, 21.4%, and 15.6%.
That's insane. My chair keeps squeaking.
I know. You got the squeaky one. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We'll
It'll just
rotate.
talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to say hi.
Just like y'all know that it's a squeaky. There's nothing else.
No, it's nothing
So
else.
this is insane. Okay, because this is our area as far as like market center. 18, 21, and 15%, and then jumping right over here to Alpharetta,
Milton.
Milton, and then just having a very normal level. Right, like this would be normal
Year
rate,
over year
year over
appreciation.
year. Yes, and this is abnormal.
Correct.
On fire.
Now
On
go
fire.
Now
Yeah.
go back a year and take a look. It's almost the exact mirrored opposite.
So it's not a one-off.
It's not a one-off. There's different trends. Now, if you're not local, it's crazy. Let's say you're moving here from California or New York. Are you going to know?
No.
No, their agent should know, but they probably don't.
Yeah, their agent should know. We don't even. How are you going to know this? Is there one news article that you could click on and ever learn this information?
No.
No, because the news doesn't want you to know that.
I was just going to say, because it's
No.
a disadvantage
Yeah.
to someone.
To
And-
To somebody.
And they just want to
Mhm.
keep everybody interested in their stuff.
Yeah. So when we say it's not clickbait, and you're like, you get into like moderation and that middle ground of reality, that's not sexy. How do you change that? Like consumers have to change it, I guess. But I mean, how do you shout from the rooftops loud enough? Like I don't think we're going to solve this. I don't think anybody has. But when you take it out of like, okay, I think one of the most concerning things I've seen, and this is just a comment on human and humanity, and so you guys can like chime in or be like, no, she's jumped off of a cliff over there on her own and we're going to let her be there. Is that like I've seen actually people say, I don't even know how I feel about that, or I don't even know what I think about that until I've gone and like read or watched or whatever, fill in the blank of what so-and-so thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've surrendered your own like ability
Yes,
to
yeah.
create your own opinions and thoughts, or how to learn how to process information, because things are Googleable, they are instant, and you are not having to do your own research to formulate your own opinions. Now you gave away the thing that makes you different, an important person, your own thinker. Like everybody doesn't have to get along all the time, but you should be able to have a coherent
Right.
opinion and discussion based on
And why you think that way.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how to shout this from the rooftops, but I just was so shocked by this story and this data. And I mean, I do a video every week on the market update, and I couldn't even see this big of a trend in a Metro Atlanta update without
Wow.
deep diving into this.
And that would be really interesting to do just a snapshot at one time of all Atlanta.
And that's what I do weekly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
You still wouldn't get this in-depth data.
right.
Like when I look at it every 30 days for Forsyth and Gwinnett, just looking at it at that high level for 30 days, you're
Right.
not seeing
this.
this.
Yes, broken
Right?
down.
You're seeing something completely.
There's
Or-
evidently an app for that.
Mhm.
This is reports that we
Yeah.
can run, but I guess too is, how do we educate buyers? How do we educate sellers? If I was coming to you and saying, okay, I mean, because if I'm coming to you as a loan officer, right? I don't, let's just pretend for kicks and giggles, I don't know this.
Mhm.
Well, wouldn't a median sales price impact my monthly payment?
It would indeed.
Wouldn't it, the rate of appreciation probably impact my appraisal?
It'd be interesting to find out if you have more issues with appraisals coming in at the value,
Mhm.
because in those areas that are not being, doesn't have as high or
The appreciation rate isn't
Right,
there. Yeah.
right. And some of those areas are pretty affluent, so they would expect in an affluent community that their appraisals and their houses would appreciate at least the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what's really shocking.
Yeah. Like knowing those areas, I would be interested to see how many were cash.
Yeah.
And then what were the loan types that they were getting.
Yes.
And then it would all go back to having a buyer consultation, doing it right in the very beginning of what areas are you looking? Let me show you what to expect
Right.
in certain areas so that we can better educate you on how you're going to need to present what you're presenting as far as your offer and your loan conditions. But then even is it still competitive over there? So it looks like it, right? So then
Right.
how do we then at that point go in and make your loan or your offer competitive? But it all comes back to that buyer consultation in the very beginning and being very education based to that
Well,
consumer.
as a seller too, because
Same
I
thing.
live on this side of 400, and those houses over there are going for this,
Mhm.
and then if you don't know this,
This.
you're like, oh well, yeah. If I look over here across the street,
Mhm.
and then you price something completely
Yeah.
completely overpriced, and
The-
you're like,
There seems to be a need for another deep dive as to why this is. Are these homes more affordable and therefore there's more
What are
people
the
looking for
No,
these?
Mm,
your
no, they're
average
not.
sales price over here on the ones that are appreciating at a lower pace are actually
Oh, yeah, I've got
Yep.
that's what I meant. That
yeah. So the
if-
ones that are going faster are the little bit slightly more affordable. I mean slightly, because you're looking at 3,005 versus 3,004. You're looking at 1.89 million being the median price point versus 930,000.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah,
at that price
difference,
point,
yeah.
I mean, yes, that is a differential, but is it drastic? Not really. And you're looking at basically 800,000 median versus 850. And then I would say this one, what is this? 4.1 versus 4.0. So coming is 720 median price versus
Mhm.
615.
Mhm.
So that one is probably the biggest
right.
gap.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're not talking affordability over here.
No.
No.
And you know what?
Cindy's like, no.
No.
I don't care what math you're running.
This, I'm going to say, which zip code was this? 30040?
This is 4.0.
Okay, which is also part of what we're experiencing in North Forsyth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that price point? There is a lot of product out there.
There's a lot
A
of inventory.
lot.
Yes.
And we're only getting 2 homes a week under contract out there for the last 6 weeks.
Okay,
So our buyer demand is like really
Scarcity.
slowing down.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of inventory.
There's
out
more
there.
inventory over here.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not increasing as much
Right.
as far as year over year.
Agreed. I think there's a lot more new construction on this
Mhm.
side over here. So you're
Mhm.
having that's always going to hit your resale hard. And people statistically are willing to pay 15 to 20% premium for new construction.
So pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're getting more inventory, which is holding these prices down a little bit more, which is not bad. But I mean, still at the upper end over here, you're still over $1 million, 1.8 million,
Mm-hmm.
1.08 million as a median price point. That's nuts.
It is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, we're just not talking affordability. Maggie's over here going, dear God, people.
yeah, well, those are not my average sales prices.
They're not mine either.
It's like,
But if you go to ours, like as a team, our average sales price, I mean, it ranges like anywhere from 300 to 350 to even 400, like just depending on what we're doing. But ours is more of the smaller appreciation, like the 2%, 3%. That's what we're kind of seeing right now.
Yeah.
but even if you're
Mhm.
thinking like out where you live, people probably know where UGA is, and you're not far from Athens. And
Oh, Athens is its own market.
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
you cross in and out, and
Mhm.
the price
Yeah.
differential is going to be massive.
Yeah, no, Athens is its own market. It's got its own MLS. If you know, it's very much because I mean you've got 5 points. You've got just downtown Athens, which has price points like these
Right.
or more. I mean, the president of UGA just had his house listed. It's like $5 million or something. So it's like you've got that,
Mhm.
but
Get into
then
that
you
business.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
sorry.
right, President UGA. Anyways, but then you have like Oconee County, which is where I live. So I live about 10 minutes from downtown Athens, but Oconee County, and you have a lot of difference. You've got North Oconee, who's got higher price points, but still some less, and then Oconee that's got some less. But then you go to the other areas that we service surrounding, and then you're more on the 300, 400 price points. But we're seeing the slight increase in values, but still increase. Like, and that's my thing,
That's
is
the thing,
now
it's still
yeah,
increasing.
it's still an increase.
Yeah.
We're seeing, like Rachel said, a lot of new product coming every week and a lot less pendings. A lot less. Like, having to talk our sellers off the ledge and letting them know, like, this is not, unless you're willing to severely underprice your home, like, you're looking at several weeks on market right now. And, you know, we went under contract the week of the 4th on a house. I think I maybe mentioned this previously, on a house that, in my opinion, was underpriced a good bit. And I don't know if that was the strategy of the agent, but we had to offer almost $100,000 more, and the appraisal came back at where it needed to be. And so I don't know if that was strategy, if it was good for them. So the market corrects whatever you do. I feel like, you know, like it's one of those things where I tell my sellers, like, if you're ready to sell and you're willing, like, let's underprice a little bit, because you can't ever underprice.
No, say that loud for the people in the back that are like, what if I underprice a house? It's a physical impossibility.
You
Yeah,
cannot
you can't do that.
underprice a house. The market will always tell you what your house is worth. And I know what it's worth. I know what a builder tells you what it would be worth to rebuild your home. But I'm sorry, it's whatever the buyer's willing to pay.
Right.
And it's one of those where I'm like, I mean, if you're gonna be strategic and you want to be aggressive, like, let's go a little bit under, because you're going to get more people, attract more people, and potentially have a higher offer. Now, that may not happen, and you get one offer at the list price that you underpriced it for. I'm doing quotation marks. Well, then the market told you what your house is worth for.
Exactly,
you know, worth. And I think that is the biggest message, trying to help sellers right now, because, and agents too. I mean, I'm seeing it in the Facebook messages right now. Agents freaking out because their listing's been on the market for 30 days and they've had like 1 or 2 showings. What am I doing wrong? And they're doing nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm like, it's not 2021, 22 anymore, guys. Like, we're sitting on the market. Like, you have to know these numbers. And that's why
pricing is a strategy, not a value.
Yes.
And if I say that one time, I've said it 1,000, it doesn't mean people embrace it. But the other piece of that it comes back to is education. And, you know, we're talking about how often we're looking at numbers. Well, let's even just start with, Maggie, how long have you been in business?
How long have I been licensed or been?
Licensed. Fair question.
4.5 years.
Okay. So 4.5 years. And in that 4.5 years, have you ever been in a buyer's market?
No, I was licensed 2020.
I already knew the answer. All right. So yeah, exactly. Okay. So you've never been in a buyer's market. Have you ever been in a market where average days on market is more than 30 days?
As a marketing and other personnel on a real estate team, yes. Like, I remember
licensed.
Yes, but licensed, no.
No. Okay. So 4.5 years, licensed, no. All right. So if you've never experienced that, now granted, your perspective is a lot better and different and all the things, but statistically, let's run stats. Rachel, you know this. Cindy, you have witnessed this. Statistically, how many agents are still in the business after 2 years? Well, after 1 year, how many fall out?
Oh, 85% fall out.
Yeah, and of the 15% left, how many make it through the second year?
I don't know that number. Probably
It's
10%.
It's 82% of the 15% that are left
over
fall out the second year. Okay, so then now you think about it. All right, so let's say somebody did stay in year 3 or 4, but they didn't like do all the things that they're supposed to do, and we won't even get into that right now. But okay, so let's say you've been in the business now 4 or 5 years. You've sold 4 to 5 houses a year, which actually statistically, again, average. Last year, the average was 2. The year before that was 4 to 5, right? Okay, so let's say you're an average agent. which is for sure what we're shooting for here. So you've had all this experience over the past 4 to 5 years. So you've never seen this market. You don't even know how to get to these reports, much less
Comprehend.
comprehend. How is this going to affect what I'm doing? How is this going to affect my seller? How is this going to affect my buyer? How is this? And then you compound that, so you have an industry of inexperienced people, I'm going to say that nicely, who are not long-term experienced, but then also are not taking the time to understand this at a high level. And then my favorite is like, when so much of the time, those are the people who are being quoted in articles or being interviewed in places. And I fear for the consumer. And it's like, guys, slow down and ask enough questions. So let's say that you were on the flip side and you were going to hire an agent. We'll start with you on this one, Cindy. What would you ask? Like, if you were going to sell your home tomorrow and you were going to hire any agent you want, how would you decide who you were going to interview? And what would be important to you?
But I'm in the business.
You are.
Okay. So because I'm in the business, I would choose by the people that I respected most, by working with them and seeing how they worked with their clients before. And I usually can get to see the outcome, whether there were missteps or not even missteps, but people who had misunderstandings or did not understand enough. So I would go with the people initially, everybody I knew who knew this business and worked it as a business and was really good with their clients if I was choosing somebody to list my homes.
Yeah. What would be your...
And then they would have to be female.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's our demographic here. So obviously,
it's just...
I mean, we love you guys, but we're not hiring you.
No. Because I don't like being talked down to.
You're like, thanks, I'm good.
Yeah.
What would be a big deciding factor? So education, obviously, because you see it on the other side, how well they're educating their clients, and they can't educate if they don't know.
Right.
So what would be another factor for you personally?
Personally, then probably, well, it's who I like, but then also I would like to feel comfortable in what they recommended for me, because I am not I'm in the market and I know what things go for, but it doesn't mean that I have any kind of really concept when it comes to my own stuff. I need somebody else to talk to me like my mom, would be like, I know you love this house and I know you want to sell it, but this is what we have to do to it. You got to take the green paint off the wall. You have to do this. I have no green paint, by the way.
No, but somebody who is real with you.
Yes. Yeah. I would rather have somebody who I trust make me feel uncomfortable or even make me miffed, not mad, but just miffed. But then as I walk away, then you give me an overnight and I'll go, oh, she's right then. Because if I didn't need her, then why are we having this conversation?
Right.
But I am in the business and I can see the difference. And sometimes I have a really good friend who just bought a house, and she bought a house, and her realtor was her daughter-in-law's brother-in-law. So not by marriage, but her daughter-in-law's sisters. And I've been around her in multiple transactions, and there's nothing evil or anything, but I work with really competent people, and I'm going, I won't say names because she'll find out I had this podcast and she'll jump on. But she apologizes to me. She goes, he's mine. And then
fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I do. So I think that is.
So you wouldn't use somebody just because they were a friend of a friend who wasn't an expert?
No. And that is so sad that people
feel obligated.
Yeah. No, it's okay to work with a friend or a relative, and they're really good. They're bringing their A game. I personally would not work with anybody that uses it like a part-time.
Yeah.
moneymaker.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And there are some, I do know people like
Oh,
that.
that do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They just do their own deals or whatever. I had a call this morning from a buyer that was referred to me from back when the girls were in volleyball. Like I'd actually forgotten about him. And he's a colleague of this lady, and she's moving here from Michigan. And she's relocating. So we were talking, and she said, I just feel like I don't have the right realtor. And I said, well, number one, do you have to use her through the relocation company? Or was she assigned to you? No, she wasn't. She was referred from, and the agent that she's using in Michigan referred her to this agent.
Got it.
And she said, I just feel like she's number one, she's not available to show property when I can see it. She doesn't have anybody also representing her business if she's out of town. So if she goes out of town, she can't see property. And she said, I don't feel like she's connected. Like she doesn't know things that are coming up. If we talk about a certain area, she doesn't know about the specific area. All these things, right? She said, you were referred to me. I don't know if you want to work with me or not. My max is $450. And, she's telling me all these things. And I said, I'd honestly be honored to. Like I had pulled up properties as I'm talking to her. And she said, well, there's one that I'm looking at. And I said, well, tell me the address. It happened to be the one that I had pulled up already. I go, oh, I'm actually just looking at that one right now. So I knew exactly which one you're talking about. But it was all about, this person was referred to her from another agent, but she just felt like she wasn't, I took it as she probably wasn't as a business professional as she wanted her to be,
Right.
compared to what her past realtors have been.
Well, and it sounds like she's got a different job.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
She's
when
showing
you
for
said that,
nighttime,
yeah. I'm like,
right.
as soon as you said that, I'm like, it sounds like she has a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I
doing
never
something
asked.
else.
I don't know
No.
who she was. I did
No.
say ask if the office was incoming, and it was. Because that was my first question: is she may be out of an area
Right.
agent, and she may not know the area so well, or But she said that it was. But I didn't go any further, so I didn't ask who it was or anything. But anyway, we're going to take her on as a client. But I thought that was interesting, her perspective, and then not having someone to take over her business if she goes out of town.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Well, and how are you gonna? I don't know. Like, if I can't show you property, if I have no business, like
Mm-hmm.
running it like a business, if I have no help of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds awful.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I would ask though, to your question that you asked Cindy though, I would ask, how many homes do you sell? I think that's important. Are you a full-time realtor, or do you do this part-time?
Yeah.
Are you watching what is the percentage that you give that you typically get your listings, or that you get for your buyers? What's the education side of it? And I think obviously people don't really think about that, but I have had conversations with sellers that if I know they're interviewing multiple agents, I'll say you need to ask them these questions,
Right.
and see how they answer
That's
those.
what, as a lender,
Mhm.
if we're being what we would call being shopped, say, well, just get this information, and then it's apples to apples, at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah.
But I will say, I moved, 1990, I moved here from Indiana, and we sold our home without an agent because it was a relocation, and we sold our home, and we came down here, and I do not know how we got the agent down here, and he was really nice, but I look back at it and think, holy.
You're like, he didn't know what he was doing.
No, I didn't know what I was doing
Right.
as a client, and so I would not have known even those answers. And I kind of was raised, in a very conservative farm town, and for the first thing that struck me, it actually gave me goosebumps, that the first reaction when you said those things, my dad would have thought that was rude to ask all those probative questions. And that's what if it's rude, it's rude. He wouldn't have used the word rude, but you weren't being respectful.
Polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that too.
And but that's exactly what you need to do. And we need to do something about that. If you're moving, these are the things that you need to ask before you select a realtor or a lender. I mean, I can talk about what you need to do before you select a lender, but that's the first time in very few things. This shocked me and that shocked me. I've been shocked all day.
Yeah.
All day today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is like if I was hiring a real estate agent, number one, I have a couple of rules. Rule of thumb is like, don't sell your own house. You're your own worst realtor.
Yeah. Too emotionally involved.
You're too emotionally involved. It's not that you have to physically hire a third person, but like at least like I've stepped in and helped out agents in our office and like have been that go-between because it just puts that you need the distance.
Separation.
Yeah, you need the separation. Even if we know what we're talking about, you need the separation. You wouldn't go to court without a lawyer because like you're just gonna stand up and hope for the best. Like, no, don't sell your house. It's the most expensive asset that you have. But then on the other side of that is that if I was going to hire an agent tomorrow, the first thing I would ask is what do I need to do to my house? Mm-hmm. And I know that is a sensitive thing to say to people, but I would ask the questions you asked. Absolutely. You'd start there. But if they say, well, your house looks great, that's a serious problem. Mm-hmm. That is a red flag. And a lot of agents who are inexperienced won't tell you the truth because they are worried about offending you. Yeah. And they will tell you what price you want to hear, and they will not be honest with you about what needs to happen to the house to get highest and best and the least amount of days on market because of their own insecurities and lack of experience of how to put that together. And so for me, that would be a massive red flag. Like I need somebody who's going to come in and listen. Are you a certified stager? Or no. Or went to school for it? No. Yeah, me neither. So why aren't you bringing in a stager? Why aren't you saying, do we need to get a pre-listing appraisal, a pre-listing inspection? Do we need to go ahead and get a home warranty on your home? We have access to that. Do we need to go ahead and have a termite inspection? What are they showing up with that is super proactive so that I have the least amount of problems on the back end?
Right.
Yeah. And if they do tell you to do stuff to your house, like back that up because in 21, 22, you could just, you could present your home, hey, welcome in, come on and get an offer.
I could have the green thing on
I think too, like there are, in my opinion, some markets where you don't necessarily have to be the prettiest at the time, but I think we're in a market now where you do, and like there are there's certain things that you should spend money on and certain things that you shouldn't spend money on. That's why we tell clients all the time, like, don't do anything, let us come in because you don't have to paint those cabinets, or you know what, let's just offer a paint allowance, or let's just offer a carpet allowance instead of you ripping up all of your carpet, like just depending on what it looks like. And I think we're different markets too. Like in our market, we don't use stagers. There's just not like we don't. Yeah. I mean, now we help as far as like clear your counters, things like that. But
yes, I'm saying in a price. Yeah. Like no, you're right. Yes, but you're still not ever going to show up and be like, "Yep, status quo, 100%, totally fine. Don't touch anything. It's perfect." No, because that's what I mean. Is like if you're telling me that my home needs to be staged or that we need to look at certain things, great. You need to bring in the professional for that. If you're not telling me that, then sure. Yeah. Right. But what I mean is like everybody is going to show up because none of us live in model homes. We live in our home. Mm-hmm. Yep. Once you're putting your house up for sale, you have to say it's no longer my house. Right. It needs to be the model. Yep. So yeah, you need to take down all your family photos. Mm-hmm. Or the woman that wouldn't list her house with me because, and I'm going to say this very nicely, I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus. This has nothing to do with that. But she had artistry, renditions all over her house of Jesus being crucified with blood dripping everywhere. It wasn't just
one or two.
I mean, this is over every door. This is hanging. I mean, they were very in your face. And I was like, we really need to kind of take this down because we're appealing to the buyers now. Yeah. We need to present what's going to work. And she was so offended.
That comes down. Deer heads come down.
Yes.
UGA, Auburn things. Like all the things that like just make people fired up.
Unless you're selling in Athens.
Yes, unless you're in Athens. But I mean, we tell them all that stuff has to come down.
Pet bowls need to be hit. Like if I don't pet bowls.
Yeah, pet bowls.
Even if the pets,
cat stands,
trees, all of it, because even if the pets are out, if I can see that, then somebody who has pet allergies or even pet allergies, either one, oh, nope, can't buy this house.
Yeah.
So there's no possibility of you walking into one house and saying, you're going to get max dollar, shortest days on market in any market, even if you had multiple offers and you could list it, you're still going to get more if you do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But again, I think, have you guys ever read that in a news article? I haven't.
No.
I mean, I've seen blogs where agents
I mean,
like,
blogs
I think
and
NAR
stuff,
stats
yeah.
show it.
sure, but those aren't in
Yeah, but they're not
the
open to
news.
the public. Or
Yeah, that's not what's going out. Is like, in your area or even Metro Atlanta, what are the 5 things that are going to help sell your home? What are the remodel projects that if you are putting money in your house, where should you spend the money? And for us, passionately, come talk to somebody who knows. We'll tell you, even if it's not like, even if you're like, no, I'm not selling my house, but what I want to do is know, like, if I spend, okay, we'll use my house for an example. Y'all have all been to my house. Lovely humans, thrilled. They spent over $1.2 million on the reno and addition. I paid, guys, anybody who says that they can't, all home prices are public record. So like, because people are like, oh, I don't want people to know how much I paid for the house. It'll take 2.5 seconds for anybody to find it.
Yeah.
I paid $585,000 for my house. They way over improved it for the neighborhood. I'm thrilled. I love my house.
It is.
It's beautiful. I have a $250,000 kitchen.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I would never have spent $250,000, especially in that neighborhood, for that kitchen. Do I love my kitchen? Yes. Is my house worth way more than $585,000 now? Yes, it is. And if you call your local realtor who actually knows what's going on, we will tell you not to put $250,000 into a kitchen.
Yeah, we get calls all the time from people that are just remodeling, think about finishing the basement, think about adding a pool. Not they're going to sell anytime soon, but they are curious because they do know at some point they will sell. And, and for the most part, basements don't really add much value.
Nope.
FYI. And pools, I think post-COVID a little, but I don't think value. It's more of like, well, unless it's like luxury homes, and because we sold the farmhouse, we added a pool, a very, very, very nice pool, so there was a little value added there, but
it's never dollar for dollar.
Never dollar for dollar.
No, pools, basements, things like that, and people don't know that. And even there was agents as well. Like, I mean, I had an agent who overpriced a home and because of the basement being finished, and it's like, it's not dollar for dollar down there.
No.
Like, it's a percentage. And so and it was overpriced, and
even appraisals are never going to do below ground grade.
No. So it's always like, hey, finish it for your family. If you're going to be in the house for 10 years, finish it. Or if it's something you really want to do, finish the basement. I mean, there's a lot of home improvements we're doing to ours that we know, unless we stay in it for another 10 years, I mean, we may not get back. But we're okay with that because we want to make it what it is for family and for the moment now, and it is what it is. But
it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. And so a lot of people don't know that, and then they're upset when they go to sell, and they have no idea.
All right, so you guys, are you two ready to be shocked? Because you were dentist and you had a team thing, so you didn't hear team meeting. What were your stats today, Cindy?
Oh, okay. Now you're going to ask me, make me.
I'm sorry. Do you have your notes?
I did not. With
Dang
me.
it.
No.
Do you want me to go get them?
Or you can tell them. You probably remember.
I do not.
Okay.
I knew it starts with 14%.
Yeah. The guys love it because I change everything into a percentage.
I liked it.
I can go get it if you
go
want.
grab it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Now
didn't hear
it's really building it.
I know. I'm like, drum roll.
I know.
And by the way, we moved into our house. 2 older people. We zhuzhed it until we got the puppy. I would say it was pristine. The puppy has destroyed it, but it still looks pretty good for a little house.
No, for all the houses. I mean, let's be real, Cindy.
It's probably in perfect condition.
It's in perfect condition.
Yeah.
What has a puppy done?
Right?
I don't think a puppy's done much damage.
It's probably peed, and she probably cleaned it up and had the spot cleaner and stuff, and it's like, it's still perfect. Yeah.
Lola brought home a puppy on Friday. A Bernedoodle.
I saw your picture. Oh, look. So, okay. So
are you going to edit this?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, wait, this is
Oh,
great.
it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So you can always tell when anybody around the office is having intense conversations, like any
Uh-huh.
agent,
They're all walking.
we watch the laps go, and so y'all on YouTube cannot see this, no matter what your angle is, or even
Yeah.
podcast if you're listening. But what our top solo agent is walking laps and on the phone, and he waves because he knows I'm in my office. So he checks to see if he can see it, and you always know when somebody's having like those intense negotiating conversations or whatever. I giggle because I'm like, oh, there's Ryan. Oh, there goes Brandon. Nate was down the other day. Oh my gosh, he was cracking me up. I was like, get him, Nate, get him. He was.
That's so funny.
So okay,
The
so you have a new
walks.
dog.
Lola has a new dog.
Sure, you have a new dog.
Uh-huh. But she's in Athens with Lola. So
Okay.
Lola brought her home on Friday, brought her back to school on Sunday, and then she'll come back this Friday. But she'll live with Lola.
Okay.
And her name is Millie Bean Mooney because she looks like a bean. Like she's got brown and black and then the white. She's so stinking cute, but she is a hot mess. But that's 4 dogs in my house.
I know you have like.
And I have a small
I'm gonna
house, y'all. I don't have a big expansive house. It's small. Charlie is like a small miniature horse. She's 65 pounds or somewhere around there. And then the 2 Shih Tzus. And now this puppy. And I got my house cleaned on Tuesday. By Tuesday afternoon, it looked like nobody had ever been there. And then by Friday night, it was storm had gone off.
I'm like ready for back to school because I feel like my house is just not staying clean.
No, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts too. I'm very finicky about my house.
Sorry, I have to go next. I have to go to a meeting, so I had put everything up, and I thought, I got it on my phone.
Oh, good.
There you go.
Okay, yes, no, I got it. So the most recent Fannie Mae survey to not only just to people looking for homes, but in general, only 10% of individuals know that they can purchase a home for 5% down or less.
Jeez.
Can you believe that?
And those actively shopping for a home, only 1 in 7, which is 14%, people believe they can buy a home for 5% or less. And now they're actively
looking, and
So
they
they've
need
got-
to have more money down.
Yeah.
God,
And the median of people think that you need at least 15 to 20%.
that's always that misconception. People want to get rid of that mortgage insurance.
Yes.
You know, so like I feel like that's so much drilled in their heads by their parents. Like, you need the 20% down to get, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
save 20%. Or what's his name? Dave Ramsey.
So what's interesting is did you hear Jason Abrams talk about this? Is like owning a word.
Yes, he talked about that. That
owns the word debt.
Yeah.
He owns the word debt.
It's Rory Vaden is the name. If you listen to Millionaire Real Estate Podcast,
There you go.
That is Jason Abrams. He interviewed a guy named Rory Vaden, who is a huge marketing guy. Anyways, he came and spoke at CEO Summit last year, I think, and so he was apparently incredible. And so he did a podcast interviewing Rory, and Rory said, I think it's Rory, that like he's talking about social media and marketing yourself and stuff like that, and how like people need to know you for something. Like, what problem are you solving? And he's like you can't, like, Dave Ramsey owns the word debt. Like, if you think about debt, think about Dave Ramsey. So like, it's like, what, and that was one of the biggest questions, that when he says you're marketing, what problem are you solving, and who are you solving it for, are like some of the big things if you're like looking to brand or you're looking to get out into the public.
No, but I mean, but that is his word. And so, like he's preached that. And a lot of people listen to him not understanding that his word is debt, not wealth.
Right.
And not assets.
Right.
He's made millions on that.
On that.
But too, like when our parents were buying homes, and not maybe my parents bought homes later in life, but like grandparents, parents, older, think of the interest rate they were buying it on. It was like credit card interest rates. It was like 16%, 17%, 18%. Of course you want to pay that off. You don't want to pay 18%.
Well, but that
It's
was
a
only
lot.
a small season.
It was a small season, but like it's beat into them like you can't have mortgage debt. You can't have mortgage debt when really honestly, like the interest rate that we're paying is a lot less, sure, but it's just like I think that's why a lot of people want to do the 20% down, or they want less debt, or they don't want all this debt, or a lot of people think I got to pay this house off, I got to pay this house off, I got to pay this house off, when actually, like, hey, carry this mortgage for this many years, and
it's an appreciating asset.
It's appreciating
Right.
asset,
And
like it's okay for you to own it. And
yes,
now something that will blow your mind, and I can't fully explain it in 2-3 minutes, but we had so I'm part of KW Wealth, which is a community within Keller Williams. And at one of our masterminds, we had a guy come and talk to us about inflation and how inflation has basically impacted the value of the dollar, and how the value of the dollar is significantly less right now than what it was. So he did this whole chart thing about like how basically being in a 30-year mortgage is to your benefit, because sure, you're paying $500 a month, but honestly, today's dollar,
Yeah.
like you think of it, and it was incredible. It blew everybody's mind. We were like, wow. So like carrying debt is not that bad. You're kind of better. And they said, they're like, your hedge of protection over inflation is to buy assets.
Right.
Money in the bank is doing you no good,
No.
because
it's depreciating.
It's depreciating.
Cash is
Yes.
depreciating
because of the value of the dollar.
Right.
So like it was just crazy, and like so many people don't know that. And also when you're thinking about it, when you're, again, your clients that you're talking to, like, let's go buy a rental, or like, you've got this much, put it down, like it's wild how like data and things that people don't know, how like just those little things will help you even with your clients, because too, people are waiting for the market to crash. People are waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
Guess what? You keep waiting, the value of your dollar is going to keep
goes
going
away.
less and less
Yeah.
and
and
less.
prices are going up.
Yes.
They're not coming
So
down.
buy now, hedge yourself
Right.
against inflation, and go ahead and so it's just
And it's the
Yeah.
only way to lock in your housing cost.
Yes.
yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the only way. There's no other way. You are paying somebody's mortgage. That's what he's thinking. Oh, I don't want a mortgage. I don't want to pay that. You're paying somebody's.
Yeah.
I promise you're paying
Right.
somebody's. Whether it's yours or somebody else's,
Right.
you're paying somebody's.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
We have analysis tried to show buyers like rental versus buying and extrapolating it, and we need to use that more here too. And the fact, what I found compelling is that with those ideas, preset ideas, there's a whole group of people that have taken themselves out of the buying market because they believe this, and it's only making their situation worse. Because like if you're in a house, whether you put 5% down or not, as long as that house is appreciating, then that wasn't a bad idea. And
well, and here's the other thing is when they take themselves out of the market, what they don't realize is that this isn't going to stop, right? The market, like there's appreciation in real estate. It just is what it is. Why? Because they're not making any more dirt. Like the earth is what the earth is. Your metro centers are where they are. It is what it is. They're not making more. So that is a fixed asset. And when you've taken yourself out of the market, what you've done is you've allowed someone else's opinion, because as humans, naturally, once we've formed an opinion and we've decided it's 15 or 20% down, we tune out anything that is contrary to what we believe. And the first thing that we hear is typically the easiest to sink in, because it's like, oh, that's okay, that. And it can take many, many, many times to undo that, what we think we know as fact. And then that goes back to, if you believe that it's 15 to 20% down, you believe renting is better than buying, you don't realize that cash is actually a depreciating asset. You don't understand all of these things, and then you hear people talking about this and you're like, well, I don't believe them because this is what I've read, this is what I've been taught, this is what I've seen. And again, this isn't clickbait. What we're talking about isn't sexy. But it's reality.
Yeah.
And if you look at the richest people in the world, they may not have gotten rich off real estate, but a significant portion of their wealth is in real estate.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because look back at the stock market. Here's your homework. Here's a great exercise. Look at your stock market. See what companies that are on the top now existed 100 years ago.
Right.
And yes, the stock market was around 100 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then look back and see who was at the top 100 years ago, 125 years ago, and see where it is now.
If it's even here.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a great exercise. And there's a great book about that called How the Mighty Have Fallen. If you like to read or listen to books on audiobooks, and it's all about businesses and, there's cycles. But I mean, think about the Biltmore estate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's still there.
Mm-hmm.
That is still privately held. They still generate revenue off of it. And I mean, yes, that's an extreme example, but that is now the family's income. They don't have the wealth from all the other things that created that wealth that allowed them to build that.
They lost that house at some point, right? I can remember the story behind Biltmore. I remember going through the little
phone thing.
And
Yeah.
I think at one point, because I remember like she ended up living like at one room at the very bottom.
Yes.
Maybe they didn't lose it.
They
but
didn't
like
lose it,
something
but it
happened.
got into such bad
Yes.
disrepair.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so opening it to the public, but that is, and if you look over even in the UK, like so many of those castles and now they're, I mean, pick a title, I don't know, dukes or earls or whatever. They're touring these massive mansions because that's what's left of the wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to build real wealth that lasts generations, buy property.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something that is not as predictable, buy anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Or don't, leave your cash in the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it just didn't click, but like, the dollar is fiat currency. It's backed by nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Nothing.
and it has been
Like when
for how long?
Yeah.
a couple, several. I don't even remember, but it was because it used to be backed by gold,
Right,
right?
right.
And so I guess I had never thought about that, and it's like it's literally backed by nothing. We can just print more and more and more.
That's
so
what
at
they
some
do.
point, yes,
Yeah, that's what
exactly.
they do.
It's
I'm like,
not the way it
that's
used
so-
to be.
Exactly.
It
and
was
so
still
that is what's causing it
the
to
inflation.
inflation, depreciation of the dollar, like all of
I mean,
those
but just so we're
things.
clear, no country at this point has enough gold to back any of their funds.
Probably not.
No.
But putting it into an asset is where it's at. But too, like being able, so many people get stuck in the fact of like, oh, well, I have a 2% interest rate. I can never sell. I won't ever sell. But then they're dying with 3 car payments and this and that
Exactly.
and all of this stuff. And I'm like, you're sitting on $300,000 in equity. Like, what would just happen if we move you over here to 6.5%, 7%? We pay off all your debt. You evaluate and you're better off monthly.
Right.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, it's the whole news thing where they just get stuck and they're like, well, I'm stuck here. And it's
But
one
I
of
only
those
have a
things-
15% interest rate on my car payment. What's the problem?
Exactly. And so
21%
it's,
on my credit
yeah,
card.
Uh-huh.
Whatever.
yeah.
If-
And I mean,
that-
you'll end up, unfortunately, people end up going into foreclosure sometimes that shouldn't have been. There is nobody out there
Thank you.
Nobody
Yes.
out
Nobody
there.
should be going into foreclosure.
who should be going into foreclosure.
No.
You have equity, like unless of course you bought at the height and you overpaid $100,000, sure. But most of those people doing that were cash buyers,
Yes.
at least in our industry,
Oh
at
yeah,
least in our
in Atlanta
markets.
area.
But that's like I think my biggest thing is like you do not have to go into foreclosure.
Mm-mm.
No.
Like you have enough equity
And
to
understand
get yourself
assets.
out.
And they may not be fun and they may not always be sexy and you may be in a starter home that's not the most prettiest thing.
Yeah.
We all started there.
Yeah. We did.
And the starter home can become a rental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you will build actual wealth and yeah, you change things for yourself. So anyways.
Yeah.
So there's our rant on the news.
Yeah.
Same way with refinances. Like there are so many people have a 2% interest rate, 3, and then to survive the last 2 years, they have credit card debt,
Yeah.
and take the appreciation, pay it off, pay a slightly higher interest rate, but your cash flow and your life will be better. You can stay in your same house, just take
Yeah.
the equity.
Just cut up your credit cards and
Oh,
don't do
yeah.
it again.
Don't use
Then
them
there's that.
again.
Because they always do that.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle of just
Yeah.
redoing it and paying it
Yeah.
off and then building it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get an Amex. It has to be paid off every month. And
Yeah,
then
and that's it.
forces you
And don't
to.
do anything
stop
else. Yeah.
And I think too, like, you know, one of the biggest things and the reason I think KW Wealth was started was because so many of us are in the industry, yet so many of us don't know anything about investing in real estate.
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be
And-
99%.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many, like, where if real estate is a huge way of building wealth, then why are most real estate agents some of the not like unwealthiest people in the
Because
world?
on average, a real estate
And-
agent makes $40,000 a year. He
That,
sells 4
yes.
houses.
But it's
5
like,
houses
you know,
max.
we know the industry. You're in the industry. Like, buy a house. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and I know that there's people, I mean, like when we first started, we couldn't buy a house and you're self-employed and didn't know how to do taxes. And so, like, you know,
Well, we all have
And
had the
so
opportunity to learn that
we
lesson.
learned.
Yeah.
But
You should have
it's
known
just,
me
you know,
for long.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's those things, it's the power of like using what's there and the power of knowing, you know, if you're a new agent, good for you. Like, I think any agent can survive, but it's who you surround yourself with, where you connect yourself at, like,
And where are you getting
and
information
where you're
from?
getting
Right.
And
Yeah.
validate
Yeah.
it. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't let somebody else
Listen to
make your
everybody.
choices for
Yes.
you and
Mhm.
decide your ending and your outcome because you're allowing everybody else's opinion become what you believe.
That's why I think who you align yourself with, what brokerage you join, like make sure that that brokerage is going to support you, not only in training, but in letting you know these kind of things.
Right.
Like when we went last October, we went to a region event and the head economist of Keller Williams was there, Ruben. And he said, based on his data, and he's really smart,
He's very smart.
very smart.
Mhm.
He said, we will be at the same place we are right now at the end of the year. Like he literally predicted this year. And when everybody was screaming the interest rates were going to drop in January, I was like, well, Ruben said that they're not.
Mhm.
Right.
And then we saw that happen. And it's like the people like that in your world that are, because then we were able to let our agents know, like, I don't think they're dropping. And we're not going to sit here and tell our clients that they are. We're going to tell them that this is where we are. And we were able to also, with our clients, based on the information we got, we were able to talk to them about it. And so I think it just makes you an all-around agent when you know where you're getting your information from and learning how to pull your own data. Pull it every month. It changes every month.
It changes. And again, verify. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
Trust but verify. All right. That's it, guys. You're awesome.
All
Thank you.
right.
Yay.